The thing is, we can analyze this to and back, but basically it's just balls to the wall.
Hello everybody, I am Tom Jorgensen, and I am delighted today to be talking to the creative team behind Neon's The Monkey, writer-director Osgood Perkins, the producer James Wan, and of course, the author of the short story, Stephen King. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
As somebody that really loves adaptations of Stephen King's work on film, what makes The Monkey such a perfect short story to adapt into a movie?
Just when it's very rare when you can see the poster before you even start doing your thing. And I just knew that there's something about this monkey's face. There's something about toy monkeys that lives in the uncanny corners of the human psyche for some reason. And I just felt like, as a recognizable entity, it seemed like an automatic, yes, I got to go for this, because when you get that much sort of assist from the material, you're kind of 10 steps ahead of the game.
Like what Oz has just said, the sort of iconographic nature of the toy monkey itself, or let's not call it a toy, but of the monkey, and ultimately what it represents. And I think a combination of those two just really speaks to my imagination too. I'm a big fan of sort of like creepy haunted icons, and there's nothing more haunted than this particular object.
Now, Stephen, do you find over the years, you've seen a lot of adaptations of your work, through the decades. Do you find that there are traits that those adaptations share when those adaptations are done well?
Well, they vary from case to case. There are movies like Shawshank Redemption and The Body, Stand By Me, that are, set in the real world. But the horror stuff, a lot of times it isn't all that successful, because I think people have a tendency to play it straight. And of course, when Oz did the movie, when the monkey twirls his little sticks and beats on the thing, people die. And the way that he's created the monkey and the way that he shot it, I think, man, there's going to be a lot of nightmares from this movie. And I don't know really how well the toys are going to sell, because it's creepy. It's goddamn creepy.
There is no shortage of pretty fantastic gore effects, actually. But it's also, contextualized in a way that it's very funny as well when a lot of these deaths happen. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between deploying gore in a way that's meant to get a laugh versus evoke sort of a scream or discomfort?
Well, in developing the script and sort of mapping out how these deaths were going to work, it sort of just became one of the rules that I imposed on myself, that none of these deaths could actually happen. Like, none of them are physics legit. None of water and electricity don't operate like that. You can't actually go through somebody with a Benihana knife. So I think as long as I kind of kept everything in the cartoon realm, for me, it was more like people dying in the way that Wile E. Coyote dies. Yeah. Right? Like, Wile E. Coyote dies 10 times in an episode, and bounces right back for more, and it's sort of delightful. Itchy and scratchy, same premise. So for me, it was much more about kind of how to position these encounters with death as being just like patently cartoon, and really just wanting to sort of come in on the shoulders of people like Robert Zemeckis and John Landis and Joe Dante, who had more. There was a playful element to it. There was never meant to. I never tried to sicken anybody, and I don't think we sicken anyone. I think we make everybody smile in a nice way. So, mission accomplished.
Yeah, and Stephen, I know I kind of want to throw that to you a little bit, because I think when people think of maybe generally the idea of a Stephen King movie, they do think, oh yeah, gore and guts and blood and all this stuff. But what is it about how The Monkey uses those things. I have to imagine that it delighted you. I think you called it batshittery of the highest order at some point recently.
Yeah, I did call it that. And the thing is, humor and horror are Siamese twins. They're very close. I think that it stops being funny when it starts being you. And nobody is going to feel that they're involved with the characters in this the way that they are, say, with some of the characters in a movie like Stand By Me. It's more of almost like a creep show or a Tales from the Crypt kind of thing than it is a real scary horror movie like The Haunting. And, you know, Oz is right when he says that the deaths are like Wile E. Coyote. Man, there are a couple of things in this movie that just made me howl. I mean, I just sort of hate myself for howling, but I howl nonetheless. I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a thing with fishing lures that you're never going to forget. You're going to see it for the rest of your fucking life.
The monkey comes in at a pretty blazingly paced, I think it's about 98 minutes or so. It really, really packs a punch. I'm very curious to know what everyone's take is on this sort of ongoing conversation about movie runtimes, especially as it relates to horror films. Does anyone have an opinion on the 90-minute movie being perfect?
Yeah, listen, I feel that way sometimes because, you know, as we make movies, we tend to, come up with, more plots, more characters than we kind of somehow need. There's something about a really lean, tight genre movie that just plays the best. And I think, I think Sam Raimi said similar thing as well, that, a horror movie has no business being longer than like 84 minutes or something like that. And to some degree, I kind of agree with that.
I think the same thing. I think that the Brutalist, for instance, is a wonderful movie, but you have to take your lunch, and you have to make sure that you go to the bathroom beforehand because you're going to be sitting there for 3.5 hours. Now, I'm a punk rock fan. I always have been. I like the Ramones, I like a song like, they have a song called Every Time I Eat Vegetables, I Think of You. And, that song goes about 2 minutes and 4 seconds long. It gets in, it does its business, and it gets back out again. And I feel that way about horror movies as well. I think that you get in there and you want to see something that immediately pulls you in, drags you in, and you get nailed to your chair. You don't want to get up. You don't want to go out and have a cigarette. You want to just watch that movie and see what happens next.
If you think about telling a horror story is sort of like still telling a scary story around a campfire or telling a kid a scary story before bed. And there's a certain pithy quality to that, right? Where you don't want to hang around and sort of tell I'm going to tell a scary story around the campfire. Cut to 40 minutes, you're still telling the story, and everyone's kind of like. So I think there's an immediacy to the horror yarn, which works better. Barry Sonnenfeld, they asked him why. Said, Barry, why was Men in Black a hit? He said, because it was 89 minutes. And I love that. And it's such a perfect Sonnenfeld thing to say. But it's true, the horror package is like a bullet, right? And as opposed to this sort of sprawling pastoral thing.
Well, there is, despite it being a pretty punchy runtime there is a lot to discuss about the movie. We are about to go into full spoilers about the monkey, but obviously we don't want to ruin the movie for you. So make sure you head over to IGN.com for the full version of this interview. We have plenty more Fan Fest coming for you. Stay right here.
Everybody dies. And that's life.
Oh,